This is the AFO cast that's just about ready to be stripped. You can see the ankle is at 90 degrees. We've corrected that in this cast. And so you can see there's a conduit pipe here that's extending out. And what happens is we actually put this in like a stand, a horizontal stand. And that's how we suspend this whole thing, so we can take off our plastic, we can take off our fiberglass mold and come down to the shape of the leg. So this is our cast, and we're just about to strip this down to the positive mold. Here we have the positive mold, and we're now going to begin the process to actually strip the mold. So we have it suspended here more horizontally, and in our stand. We will tighten this down because we don't want it just moving any old which way while we're trying to do our work. So I tighten it down. Okay, and then we start the process of just taking off our plastic wrap. Okay, everything we did before we got to undo now. So our plaster bandage here needs to come off in order for us to get down to the bottom. Mold. We've now removed our plaster bandage here. See our staples, they got to come out. So typically use a screwdriver. I'm going to take that out here real quick. This is where we stay away from bony landmarks. You know, the technicians in our field are very experienced, and they're a huge part of the process. An orthotist or a prosthetist can also work on a mold, but there are many technicians in our field, and they are the ones that really make these braces, and the detail that a person doesn't think about, they're knocking it out. So people can wear their brace many as effectively as possible. So I'm taking this off now, okay, and this is a very gradual process. Okay, so we've taken off the leg section. You can see this is where our cutting tube was, so that's made an impression there inside this. We're going to now do the same with the foot. But from experience, I know that if I don't cut a line from here to here and from here to here, I could pop that whole heel off. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to try to do it with this, but we might need to use a cast saw. Okay, so we're kind of just bringing the leg out of this. So now we have the person's leg, in a sense. We can subject it to heat. We can modify the mold safely. The person's not going to be harmed, obviously. So I need to do certain things. Like this is an imperfection that needs to get taken care of. Can't have that. Imperfections, stuff like that. Even the best orthotist will have imperfections in the cast. It just is what it is. So I'm going to work on that now, and you're going to see the process quickly. Now, not every orthotist or technician does this, but I'm just going to use this powder, A, because I like it, and B, it helps kind of show what we're trying to do. So, not every AFO is made the same way, so we have to think about things differently every time. So imperfections we can't have in the brace. It'll look terrible, and plus it might hurt the patient. So I'm just going over this with this plaster at this point, just trying to fill in imperfections. like this. These are air bubbles. So if you remember from before, I was trying to diminish the amount of air bubbles that could possibly come into play because it creates little holes inside of our cast. So right now, I'm just generally adding on and getting rid of these imperfections. You have to think about, as I'm doing this, I'm thinking about what the final shape is going to look like. That's a lot of what I'm doing right now. Another thing I can do is think about not just the final shape, but what our measurement, like how much space I'll need to add at the ankle, for example. We don't want plastic necessarily right on the ankle, so I do what I call a buildup right here, for example. This is just a very generalized buildup. So when we pull the plastic on top of this, there's actually going to be a small void there where we could either put a pad or just leave a space. Back here, this is where we corrected our cast. So I got to just do a transition that's smooth, that doesn't ruin anything for the patient. We're just doing a general transition like this. That's most of our work in terms of application of plaster. I'm going to do a little bit more here. We're going to create like a, this is the lateral 4-foot trim wall for the AFO. So we don't want it hugged right against the skin. We want it to just be away from that a little bit. We'll show you what we mean in the final product. But this is kind of how we do this. If you, for example, if you looked at this AFO, we're still making it. But that trim wall on the side is more like up and down. If I did not add any plaster like I'm doing here, it would be like angled way in like this. So we have it kind of more up and down. The joint here, for example, on this particular one that's unfinished, would be right on that ankle joint and causing pain, maybe a sore, etc. So that's why these buildups at the ankle are so important, because it helps to bring out that space a little bit. The shape right here of the 4-foot is what we're going to turn this into. So this is step one in the modifying process. You would do the same with a TLSO or a back brace or a knee brace, for example. So what I'm going to do now is just quickly get a sanding shear here and kind of smooth this all down. Again, the reason why I'm using this different color is it really helps me to know what I added on. Certain spots in this cast I can take away even a little bit of the white, but you can't do that everywhere. So what you'll see is it's already happening here in the leg. I tried to modify this mold, and you can see that wants to stay, that particular piece right here. And that's happening because that's us correcting the imperfection in the cast. So if that makes sense, this is a little bit wet, which makes it easier to modify in a way, but also some of it's coming off. So the next step what will be, and I'll just show you very quickly, is I'm going to smooth this up. This is a very generalized example of how an orthotist or a technician would actually work on an AFO cast. And we'll show you, I'm going to smooth this up and then I'm going to show you the final product. Okay, so you want it to be smooth like that. You don't want any imperfections like this, which is kind of more rugged, I guess, if that's the first word that comes to my mind. But you can also see how it's filling in. See that? That's real important, if I guess with the modification phase, what I'm trying to point out. See how it's just wanting to cling to these certain spots and fill them in more so than others? It's because there's a little valley right there that I'm trying to take out. This is the smoothing phase. You do this for an AFO, you can do it for a knee brace, you can do it for anything else.